This is without question my favorite clip of the day. This is Alex Jones. Now, he's going to talk for about 3 minutes here and see if you can make sense of anything he says at all.
Our ancestors, in their purity, and by purity I mean not pious purity, but genetic purity, in the raw primordial system they came from, their will has a dimensional weight that punches through anything these Satanists do. We just have to call upon it. It's like a 1,000-foot Hoover Dam and the weight of all that water behind it. And no wonder the enemy wants to keep us dumbed down. And even a mentally retarded person can call on ancestral will and dominate. In fact, sometimes even stronger than someone that doesn't have an extra chromosome. And those anomalies have been noticed. The enemy can feel the full will. And to these fallen individuals, the will of humanity is a very frightening thing. It is frightening. It's the fear of God. God fashioned us, made us in his image, knew us before we were in our mother's womb. God created these enemies to test his people. And then you're not scared of Mueller, all these little people. Once you step past them, all of eternity is before you. And it's all a giant loop. You're like the past, the present, the future, all of it. And you're like, it's not just the past, the present, the future. That's only one spectrum, third dimension. Then you can delve as deep as you want to go. And you're like, the Satanists want to serve this? Why, the secrets of Satanism take 30 seconds to know. To even look into the heights of higher dimensions in God is just, is Valhalla to the next level. And then you wonder, how could they do this? Because they were given power in this dimension. Think about that. If you were a schoolmaster that served evil and you knew a new generation was coming that would open the stars, if you knew that, but you were serving evil, you would try to cripple and control those people. And even though you knew they were more advanced than you, you would then try to like shutter their minds, but then steal their ideas. And that's what this is, a cosmic con game coming to an end. You're at the way station. You're at the lily pad in the big pond. And out beyond is the mountains and the sky and the universe. It's endless, the potential God's given you, but it's free will. God isn't going to let demons into the fourth dimension. Not going to happen.
None of that made sense. I tried so hard. I was like, okay, let's see. Where's he going with this? Yep. That's a bunch of gibberish. Yep. You're incoherently babbling. God is not going to let demons into the fourth dimension? What? Even if you're an Alex Jones fan, you have no idea what the fuck he was talking about. Nobody does. Nobody knows what he was saying there. That was all nonsense. That was all gibberish. And by the way, I've now seen him reference dimensions 4 or 5 times. He has this idea that there are different dimensions, different levels of humanity that you can reach, you can go to. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? What does that mean? I mean, dimensions, it's like, you know, when he was talking to Joe Rogan and they were talking about DMT or whatever, and Joe's like, it feels like you're in another dimension. Now, Joe's clear, and he's like, I don't know whether you actually are in a different dimension or it's just all in your head, but it feels like that. Alex seems to be convinced that these dimensions are real and that, like, he regularly visits them. We used to have a word for people who saw things that weren't there and saw that on a regular basis. So he talks about Satanism. He's obsessed with these Satanists and demon worshippers. Alex, you do know that Satanism, that's not, they don't really believe in Satan, right? You do know that, right? So there's the Church of Satan, and they just troll religious people. And their whole point is to make it so that we keep our country secular and have a separation of church and state. Because oftentimes you have Christians in the U.S., because they're the dominant religion, they're the majority, they try to slip in theocratic ideas at the local level, at the state level. And then what Satanists will do is they'll, try to, okay, if you're going to put your Christianity into the public square, we're going to put our Satanism into the public square. And now there's no standard by which you can reject our Satanism being in the public square because you already accepted the Christianity in the public square. So when they do that, then there's a compromise that's reached, and the compromise is, okay, let's keep it secular and get all of your religious bullshit out of the square. So that's the whole point of the Church of Satan. They're not really Satanists. Who out there is I believe in Satan with the little horns and the tail and the pitchfork and he's red. Nobody does that, Alex. He's like a fucking 5-year-old with the shit he believes. Jesus Christ. Unironically. I like how at the beginning he mentioned our ancestors in their genetic purity. InfoWars talking about genetic purity is probably the last thing I want to see, because who knows who the fuck's in his audience and who's taking that literally as like, yeah, genetic purity. Alt-right all day, baby. Yeah, white people are awesome. Then he says there's a cosmic con game coming to an end. Again, your guess is as good as mine. But I've noticed he's gotten more and more religious as time has gone by. This is a constant theme every time we talk about Alex Jones. He'll spend half the show railing against the fake news media and then half the show being Pat Robertson 2.0, a younger, heavier Pat Robertson, where he sprinkles in his own religious dogmatism and fundamentalism alongside his conspiracy theory beliefs. I loved all the graphics on the screen there of like Donald Trump holding up the head of Hillary Clinton after he decapitated her. I really hope that anybody who watches him is just watching him for performance art. But I swear to God, every time I click on one of his videos, I see a like rate of like 90% or more. And I'm like, oh God, please tell me people don't actually watch this guy and think they're getting news and information. Because they're not. They're not. He's a charlatan. I'm going to do a segment later. He goes after Bernie Sanders and calls him like a con artist. Alex Jones calling somebody a con artist. Dude, you sell supplements. You're not a doctor, you're not an expert, you're not a nutritionist, you're an asshole who talks about fucking conspiracy theories. You're going to sell supplements and you're going to say somebody else is a con artist? The fucking balls on this guy, man. The nerve. Unbelievable. So anyway, maybe he should go on, start the 700 club, start the 701 club or the 800 club and go on ABC Family and the Christian Broadcasting Network like Pat Robertson. Because that's where he belongs. This stuff isn't edgy, this stuff isn't cool, this stuff is fucking weird and made up and fundamentalist and beyond goofy.